want to come back to something I was talking about a few minutes ago, which is to do with a model of dualism, or a kind of model which I can find reasonably acceptable, that doesn't require an investment in metaphysics, which is to do with this duality between persistence and ephemerality. And what I was saying there, just kind of leaning gently on Damasio and Thomas Metzing and a couple of other people, was that one of the ideas from their writings is that in amongst all of the diffuse and disparate signals that are going through our brain at any one moment, reflecting the diffuse and disparate experiences we're having through our senses, and also the kind of physical exchange that's constantly taking place in our bodies, where bits are constantly being replaced and all those things are happening. In amongst all of that storm, if you like, there is a kind of centre to it, which is I'm using a sort of centre metaphor. No, there is a kind of element of stability within that, probably, and that stability is this kind of carrier frequency, this regular set of messages that are coming from our body, perhaps something to do with biochemistry, perhaps something to do with proprioception, that kind of idea, which is just constantly ticking over, saying, here you are, here you are, here you are, and which acts as a kind of core. One of the things that's evident from that is that there's nothing about that which is necessarily human. You wouldn't have to be human to have that. My dogs, there's no reason why they wouldn't have the same thing. It's not consciousness I'm talking about there. It's the notion of a kind of completely physical, stable pattern, stable situation, kind of paralleling the phenomenological sense of persistence and permanence, an ongoing sense of being that we have when we think about what a self is. I don't think the dogs have an ongoing sense of being, an ongoing sense of self. I don't think they have, well, they might have a bit of consciousness, I don't know, but it's certainly nothing like ours. But I do think they have this default pattern. I think they do have this regular beat, this regular carrier frequency, which is constantly saying, here I am, here I am, here I am. Exactly here, precisely now, that kind of rhythm. Go on, Pup, I'm talking about you, yeah. Come on, Pup. Go on, what you do? Go on, guy. But that's not the only game in town, I'm sure. I think it's also Damasio who talks about, actually maybe it's not Damasio. I think it's Damasio who talks about a kind of narrative core as well as that. And what I think he's talking about there, if it is indeed him, and if I've got him right, is that not only do we have this completely physiological, persistent pattern, kind of anchoring ourselves to our bodies, and anchoring ourselves to a slice of time that we call our lifespan, we also have other things going on that we anchor to that core. We have a story, we have a history, we have a narrative, which we locate very closely to that. We also have a series of memories and associations, I think, which kind of accrete around that. We have a series of, perhaps closer up actually, we have a series of body images, probably not one body image, but probably a series of body images, which would kind of build on that, a bit like one of those Russian Troishka dolls, they're called. Those dolls that nest inside one of them. We probably have something like that going on as well. I mean, certainly most of us who are well above the age of consent don't feel, I certainly don't feel 52. I feel 26, 27. And I was talking to my mum a while back, who's 93, and she said she feels in her mid-30s. So there's some kind of age, memory, body image related thing going on there, which is very close to this centre of the narrative core, which I think is ultimately linked and perhaps built up on this physiological persistent pattern. And I think one of the sources of evidence might be for that to do with when those things fail, when those things break down. I mean, certainly this feeling of dissociation that occasionally happens when people feel dissociated from their body, either in a positive kind of out-of-body astral traveling kind of way, or in a negative way that you get with people who suffered abuse of different sorts. There's a kind of retreat, a kind of breaking apart almost of these various centres. So the centre of narrative, that narrative centre to do with experience and memory and association, kind of detaches itself from the physiological heartbeat of persistent being. And I think also in things like phantom limbs, since there's something in that. I think Metzing himself talks about phantom limbs. There's a part of the body kind of detaches itself, or stays around after the real body has become detached. Or Capgras syndrome, one of those weird syndromes where you feel like a robot, or you feel hollow inside. There's a very particular set of neurological processes which seem to sever that kind of centre of narrative being, the narrative core, from this physiological beat of here I am, here I am, here I am. So whilst my dogs have clearly got some kind of phenomenal self-experience, probably built on that same physiological, stable, persistent pattern, they probably don't have some of the accretions, the layers on the onion that humans have. They don't have anything that's put there by language or that's firmed up by language. They don't have a lot of the sort of cultural accretions. I imagine they don't have a lot of the body image things going on there that we have, the variabilities in that. That dog guy, he's got such a fantastic smile on his face.